No more pencils, no more books. Well, you know how the rest of that school tour goes. The last days of school will soon be here for most Clark County students, but we at the Flood Control District believe that you should never stop learning about flood safety, protecting the environment, and flood control progress. Hello, I'm Betty Hollister, Public Information Manager with the Regional Flood Control District, and welcome to another edition of the Flood Channel from Becker Middle School in Summerlin. Coming up on today's show, we'll come clean with some tips for washing your car and how what you do can either hurt or protect Lake Mead, our primary source of drinking water. We'll also take a trip to McCarran International Airport and learn what they do to help protect the environment. Then we'll check out the construction of a new drainage channel and see how other new projects will be funded in these tough economic times. All that and our Flood 101 and Pollution Solution segments and some Earth Day facts delivered by Becker Middle School students on this pop quiz edition of the Flood Channel.
Did you know that we each use 249 gallons of water per person per day? That includes toilets, showering, watering your lawn, and doing your laundry. So please, let's try and use our water wisely.
Welcome back to the Flood Channel from Becker Middle School. Well, are you ready for our first pop quiz? All right. So is it smarter to wash your car at home in the driveway or go to a commercial car wash? If you answered commercial car wash, give yourself a gold star because that's the right answer. Carrie Ann tells us more.
Thanks, Betty. If you've seen the Flood Channel before, you know the district encourages everyone to use commercial car washes. Washing your car in the driveway can send dirty water to Lake Mead untreated. So what's the next question in our pop quiz? How do commercial car washes help protect Lake Mead?
I came from LA about 11 years ago. I saw my friend owning a car wash and I saw his bills, they were astronomical. I said, there needs to be something that can be done to recycle the water. I did my homework and I read a lot and I came up with the system that I have here at Luxury Auto Spa. We don't use that much water to spray off the cars, that making the water consumption a lot less than it normally would in any other car wash because they don't monitor it. Plus I have bags inside our equipment room where basically the dirt goes in and we put it in the sun for about a week and then it's eco-friendly and we put it in the trash.
Washing your car in the street, that's water that we can't recover. If we can capture a gallon of water, clean it and return it back to the lake, we can draw that same gallon of water out over and over again. So it's important to use commercial car washes. So we've partnered with commercial car washes and created a coupon program. What you do is you go to snwa.com and there you'll find our car wash, our list of participating car washes. And they're in there by address, so you can find one that's very close to your home. Then you just click on Get Coupon button, print it, and you're off to the car wash. Right now, 90% of our drinking water comes from the Colorado River and Lake Mead. The lake is down 120 feet, that's 12 stories. Ways we can help keep that to a minimum is to conserve water indoors, certainly by taking shorter showers, turning off the water when you're brushing your teeth. Accumulate dishes in your dishwasher, wash full loads. Laundry you can use, accumulate laundry loads and wash full loads and things like that. And those things are very important. But what's more important is your outdoor water use. And not only is it important to water conservation, it's important to water quality as well. One of the things you can do is be careful not to have water running off your property when you're running your sprinklers. So 4-minute bursts, do several cycles at 4 minutes, keeping those to a minimum so water does not run off the property. You can also use your watering group, make sure you're watering on the proper days, and follow those watering restrictions. You can also convert to Water Smart Landscapes to where you're using a drip irrigation system that eliminates runoff and saves you water, saves you money. One of the things we do in terms of water conservation is we actually teach free classes to homeowners about drip irrigation, xeriscaping, different things like that, and they're all free, and we do that at the Springs Preserve.
We do probably 2,000 to 3,000 cars a month. My water bill fluctuates between $250 and $350 on any given time. I mean, when I see my water bill every month, I mean, it's so cheap, and it's just helping the community with the water, consumption. And I mean, we do a lot of cars, but our water bill has never gone up to more than $350 since I've been here for 6 years, because we use recycled water.
Now you know using commercial car washes can help keep Lake Mead clean. Let's see how McCarran Airport is helping to protect our desert land and lake.
We're in the process of building Terminal 3, which is going to be about a 1.9 million square foot self-contained terminal with 14 gates that can handle both domestic and international flights. One of the main problems that we have is the number of contractors that'll work on a project that big. Some of the regulations we have are that every contractor has to come up with their own stormwater pollution prevention plan and have it in place to control anything that they may release or anything they may produce on the site. Anytime there's some kind of a rain event where there's rain coming down on the site, all the contractors have to have someone respond, make sure that their pollution prevention plan is in place, operating properly, preventing the runoff of anything that doesn't need to be leaving the site.
I think it's everybody's job to help protect the environment, and the district is no different. So it is part of our mission to mitigate our impact when we build our projects, to make sure that endangered species and wetlands and water quality are protected. Part of our commitment to protecting the environment is associated with protection of stormwater, and we have a permit that we get from the state of Nevada for stormwater. And so we have formed this committee, the Stormwater Quality Management Committee, with the City of Las Vegas, City of North Las Vegas, Henderson, Clark County, and the Regional Flood Control District as a regional agency, is named as the lead agency. The goal of the Stormwater Quality Management Committee is to keep pollutants out of the storm drains. Therefore, if they don't get in the storm drain, they're not discharged to the Las Vegas Wash, to the damage of the water environment at the Las Vegas Wash and Lake Mead.
Well, certainly the EPA nationwide, their mission is to protect human health and the environment. And that's our air quality, it's our water, it's our wastewater, waste disposal, critically important. And nonetheless, we have to remain here locally as good environmental stewards. Look at the Regional Flood Control District. One of our critical programs deals with stormwater runoff, and we have to constantly go out and educate our parents, our citizens, go into the school system and talk about the dangers of allowing hazardous materials, chemicals to get into the storm drain system, which has unimpeded flows into Lake Mead.
There's a lot of equipment, heavy equipment. If you drive by the site, you'll see lots of bulldozers and graders and things like that. Have a lot of fuel, a lot of antifreeze, a lot of hydraulic fluid, a lot of motor oils, things like that that can get on the ground, and if it rains, they're going to leave the site. So we have to be concerned about the spill, cleaning up the spill properly, making sure that nothing's left behind, and also anything that hits the ground is eventually going to end up running off. So we have to make sure we have sill fences, hay bales, booms, things like that that can keep the particulates and the oils from actually leaving the site with the water. It kind of filters the water before it leaves the site. There's a lot of chemicals there that would not be good in the stormwater, because if it gets into the stormwater, there's no filtration. It goes straight to Lake Mead, which is the water that we drink. So we want to make sure that those chemicals stay where they're supposed to be and can be disposed of properly at the site, rather than getting into our stormwater system and ending up at Lake Mead.
One of the things that the Stormwater Quality Management Committee does to keep pollutants out of our storm drain is to educate the public. We have public service announcements, including our Don't Trash Clark County campaign, and we go out to the public schools and we teach the kids. The kids seem to be more receptive to learning about this stuff, and they take it home to their families.
Well, education has always been and always will be a critical part of the flood control district. We constantly are promoting the fact, especially to our new residents, the importance of flood safety awareness, and that carries over, that educational theme carries over into our specific stormwater messages. We've had some great commercials that kind of play fun, poke at some things that people can do simply to help us out. But that message, throwing trash out the window when you're driving around, or even having a lot more respect for the environment from just a cleanliness standpoint, that message has to be constant. It can't be one day or 1 week a year. We want to promote it on a consistent basis. We're very aggressive in the school system and will remain aggressive in the school system. Reaching the younger people certainly complements that older message that we get to our adult citizens. So all in all, it comes back to a consistent message of education, working in collaboration with our member agencies and our federal partners here in Southern Nevada, with the bottom line, protecting our water quality.
The way we do that is we control different sources of pollution that could get into our storm drains. That could be from construction sites, from over irrigation and over fertilizing and over pesticide at an individual's lot. If we can keep pollutants out of our storm drain system in the first place, if we can manage them at their sources, so those that create them are responsible for keeping them out of our storm drain, we cut off a huge cost to the public that might be associated with a treatment plant. Once the pollutants are in there, then the public has to pay for a treatment plant to remove those pollutants. So it's much more effective for everybody in the valley to be responsible for their actions, whether it be construction contractors, developers, or individual homeowners. There are things that we can all do in our own homes to protect the environment. The recycling of plastic bottles and aluminum and paper can be done twice a month. And I personally ride my bicycle to work, so I enjoy the exercise, but I also save on gas, and I also don't pollute with my car most of the times that I come to work.
You can imagine with all the aircraft that we have here at McCarran International Airport and a lot of fuel being transferred every day, thousands and tens and thousands of gallons of fuel is being transferred every day. Occasionally we do have fuel spills. That's one of our biggest sources of spills. And when this fuel spills during a transfer or for whatever reason, we have to react quickly and make sure that that spill doesn't get into storm drains, make sure it doesn't get into dirt, make sure it stays on concrete so that it can be cleaned up properly. The thing about a best management practice is that it gets incorporated into the way we do business. A best management practice is the way that we make sure our housekeeping is good, the way that we make sure we handle drums filled with hazardous chemicals properly, make sure that we have secondary containment for above ground storage tanks of fuel or other chemicals, chemical management programs to make sure that we're handling chemicals properly, that we're not overbuying, that we're not creating more waste than necessary. They're all built into the way that we do business, and sometimes you kind of forget that you're doing them. Good housekeeping is something you think you're doing every day because it's part of the job, but it actually turns out to be a best management practice, and it really helps protect the environment.
And that's the bottom line. Our ability to protect the water quality in Lake Mead, and we can't do it alone. One of the great things about being in Southern Nevada is our regional approach, and protecting and safeguarding our environment, we take that same approach. We're part of the Las Vegas Watershed Advisory Committee, which handles with the Regional Flood Control District, our wastewater purveyors, our water purveyors, our federal government agencies, all work in collaboration to make sure we're all on the same page and we're all marching to the same beat and fundamentally working towards a simple mission: safeguard water quality.
Well, Betty, using commercial car washes not only saves water, but it also protects our water supply. And construction projects like the new terminal at McCarran also has a positive impact on our environment. So how are you guys doing on your quiz?
Thanks, Carrie Ann, and we'll be back with more on the Flood Channel right after this.
Springtime, when thoughts turn to Cleaning? Hey, it's great you want to clean out your garage. Just be careful where you dispose of things like old paint, batteries, pesticides, weed killer, and other potentially dangerous chemicals. Many things can be left out on recycling day. However, dangerous pollutants must go to a recycling center for proper disposal. Never dump into a storm drain. It may end up polluting Lake Mead, our primary source of drinking water. Learn more at lvstormwater.com. Brought to you by the Clark County Regional Flood Control District.
What are best management practices?
BMPs, or best management practices, are things that we can do to keep pollutants out of our environment. They can be a physical improvement like filter fabric on a storm drain inlet, or they can be a procedure like construction site operators will close down construction on a rainy day, or they will have an inspection schedule for their physical BMPs on a regular basis. But they all work together to keep our environment clean.
This is Amy Smith, principal at Becker Middle School. You're watching the Flood Channel.
Did you know that each person throws away approximately 5 pounds of garbage every day? Approximately 80% of all household garbage could be recycled. Do your part and recycle.
Welcome back to the Flood Channel from Becker Middle School. Our mission at the Flood Control District is to design, construct, and maintain flood control facilities to minimize the flood risk for Clark County residents. But the challenges in the economy are making it harder for us to move forward as quickly as we'd like. Carrie Ann finds out how we're answering the challenge.
Thanks, Betty. This channel under construction near the 215 in Stephanie is an example of how the district is making progress to reduce the flood risk in Clark County. So what's the next question in our pop quiz? What do flood control projects under construction mean for our community?
Anytime that you're constructing a major project, you're doing two things. One, you are putting people to work, and number two, you are paying wages and salaries to Nevada families. Both of those things, that is money that was generated by Nevada but stays in Nevada, which is extremely important from an economic impact standpoint. For every $1 million worth of construction activity that you have go on, generally speaking, we're looking at somewhere between 8 and 10 employees being put to work for about a 1-year period. In addition to that, about 50% of all the money that's spent comes back in terms of wages and salaries to construction employees. So, you know, there's a direct and indirect impact. Of course, that broader impact, those secondary impacts, what people like to refer to as the ripple effect, is something larger than that number, about 1.5 times those numbers. But when we're just talking about the direct effects, you're talking about putting a lot of people to work for a substantial amount of time.
Well, we have 14 projects that are under construction. This is one project that we have in construction right now. This is the Pittman Railroad East All-Conveyance Facility. It's about $11.3 million project, of which about $7 million was the Regional Flood Control District portion for the flood control facilities, and the remainder was paid by the City of Parks and Recreation for improvements to their park. This is a double barrel box culvert. Most of it is 18 foot wide by 8 foot high, and it's 2 boxes that are side by side. It conveys about 6,000 cubic feet per second. It takes flows that are coming under I-215 and conveys them through to the Pittman Wash here. Initially, when we started design on this project, it started out as a detention basin. We were going to build a detention basin south of the Union Pacific Railroad spur. And as we got into the design of that project, we found that during the geotechnical analysis that there were a number of issues with the detention basin that we would have to resolve to get that detention basin built. And so we took a step back and started looking at alternatives to see if that was the best alternative to build. And it turned out that if we build an all-conveyance structure, a facility that's capable of handling all of the 100-year flow as opposed to a detained flow, it was actually cheaper to build that all-conveyance structure as opposed to the detention basin.
Well, you know, the district program has been continuous. There seems to be always a contract out for the contracting community. There are maintenance contracts that get let, and also city staff that do the maintenance and are reimbursed through the district. For each dollar spent, there's a return on that. Those contractors that are earning the wages will spend money in our restaurants and our stores and on rent and the types of things that keep the city growing.
When we talk about construction-related projects, the number's about 1.5 times. So you can kind of take a look at it like that. You figure you're going to get $150 million worth of direct impact. Those are dollars that are going to be spent that go directly to purchasing materials and paying people that complete the construction project. You probably have another $75 million that's going to be in what we refer to as indirect and induced impacts. By indirect, we're talking about supplier purchases, right? We have to buy the concrete that we're going to purchase. We have to, all those supplies that go into those construction projects have to be purchased, and a lot of them are purchased right here in Nevada. In addition to that, you also have the indirect impacts, and now those occur when people that are working on the project go to a doctor's office, buy a car, go to a movie theater, buy something at a restaurant, those type of things. That keeps people employed in those industries, and so we refer to those as induced impacts. So, you know, it's generally speaking a 1.5 times total impact. So for every $1 that we spend, we get about $1.50 worth of economic activity community-wide.
We currently have 10 projects on the priority list worth about $140 million. We should know by June whether or not we'll have financing available to pay for those projects. We're moving forward as quickly as we can to find financing for these jobs so that we can get these projects off of the drawing board and into construction and provide flood control protection for the community.
Look, I don't think you look at anything that's $100 million and don't say that that has a significant impact on the community. Not only the life safety effects associated with flood control facilities, but also the general economic impacts associated with the development of land and keeping people employed and all those type of things. When we look at the construction pipeline today and we think about where people are working, right? You know, residential construction is already ramped down. We have a few projects, major projects still in the development pipeline, major things like City Center and the Fountain Blue project that are out there. Those are employing thousands of construction workers. By the time we get to late 2009, early 2010, the vast majority of the projects that are currently in the development pipeline will be completed. We're facing very difficult economic times right now, and that means that financing for the next projects or the demand for the next project just isn't there like it was 2 years ago when these projects were being planned and constructed. And as a result, many of those construction-related employees are going to finish that project, and for the first time in recent history, there is no next project for them to move on to. As those projects wind down, that's going to be something that our community is dealing with in a major way, as probably on the order of another 30,000 construction workers